Welcome back to Not Again, the podcast that brings college-level analysis to preschool-level content. I'm one of your hosts, Rebecca.
I'm your other host, Alan.
And today we're still talking about Frozen because I have a lot of bullet points about Frozen.
We have a lot of notes about Frozen. We meaning you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the fun. And it's a special day today.
Yeah, it's our anniversary, our 6th anniversary.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that's iron, and I wanted to let the listening audience know that I did nothing on that theme.
We don't really buy each other gifts because we share all bank accounts, so it'd be like, hi, honey, I used your money to buy you a gift that you probably don't even need.
Surprise, that store you like is already on the bank statement you already saw.
Yeah, so we just kind of record podcasts, eat dinner. The baby is not with us today, so hopefully we can get through the rest of my notes.
Hopefully, yeah.
We left off last time talking about trip number 1 to the North Mountain. If you haven't listened to the last couple episodes, I was about to say I would require you to.
We will come to your house.
Yeah, I'm going to knock on your door and be like, have you heard the good word of our podcast? No, I would suggest it. I would suggest going back. But we were talking about the first trip to the North Mountain. I am desperate to suss out how long it takes to get to the North Mountain. And so the first trip was Elsa on foot, as we said. And this leads to, oh, you know what? No, it doesn't. It doesn't lead to Let It Go directly. First, we see Anna. So I'm just going to follow my notes. And if we don't talk about Let It Go, I think that
everybody's heard that song, even if you haven't seen this movie because it was on the radio and stuff. And yeah,
so I don't think we don't need to talk about it.
We don't need to talk a bunch about it,
right? And you already made a horrible joke.
I
about
did
it
in the first
episode
the destruction
of our marriage.
the first episode of this Frozen series.
Right.
I made a joke about Let It Go that was so bad it threatened our marriage.
Right. So you should go back and listen to that. Trip number 2 to the North Mountain is Anna. So Elsa has run away. Anna says, get my horse. I'm going to put on a cloak. I'm not even going to change into my coronation dress. It's that important. I'm going to freeze to death. And she goes after her sister.
Makes a little bit of sense because her nature is impulsive. That's sort of her character at this point. But she's from Arendelle. She's been in the cold before. They have winter here. It just happens not to be a natural winter this time. So she obviously has warm clothes just in a closet somewhere.
Right. It's not like she'd be underprepared. And then we have to talk about how the fact that, before we get to her trip to the North Mountain, because I'm trying to figure out, she didn't take as direct a route probably because she doesn't know that Elsa went to the North Mountain until she hears from Kristoff that Elsa went to the North Mountain. So I imagine her route was not as direct, and therefore it would make sense that it took a little longer. We'll see. But she gets on her horse, the non-aware one, the one that will spook and leave her forever. And she announces to the general public, I leave Prince Hans in charge.
Yeah, I mean, not anybody who knows where anything is, like Kai or something like that, but just the nearest royal.
Well, it's the justification is she thinks they're engaged, but I do wonder about the legality of it. Just does yelling I leave this person in charge, later all of the foreign nationals who have no say in anything decide that Prince Hans is all Arendelle has left. They tell him that, and it's not their country or city, state, or city.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm dubious. Even Anna's a princess, right? But her sister was just coronated, and all her sister did was walk away from town.
Yeah.
It's not like there was a impeachable offense or something.
But suddenly Prince Hans is king of Arendelle just because both princesses are going walkabout for a bit.
And he's prepared to dole out all the glog this kingdom has.
Okay, stop getting ahead of us. You love the glog. I know you love the glog, but we gotta hold on. Anyway, she goes on her horse wearing a cloak and still her coronation dress and nothing else. And I want to be sensitive here for once in my life. We are recording during winter in North Dakota. For us, this is just any other day. And I will tell you that if I stepped outside on one of our coldest days wearing nothing but a dress and a cloak, it would not go well. I do want to be sensitive here and almost issue a trigger warning, I guess, because some people are experiencing a winter that is not typical for them. And it's horrible. And I do not want to make light of their situation at all. And if anything, we're going to talk about how dangerous the freezing cold is, but I can understand that also might be triggering to think about or hear about right now. So if that's the case for you, I totally understand if you skip forward or just skip this episode. I understand.
And just as a weather report from us, we actually got off easy. It was cold here.
Don't rub it in.
Well, no. It was on. We were in the eye of the eye of the storm, so to speak. So we just got like a bunch of cold air. People got dumped on with snow.
Oh, snow! Yeah, no.
People and yeah, it was really rough for people like
I see what
further
you're saying.
south than us. Normally, they say, "Oh, it's cold. It's worse than further north you go." No, actually, we just had to like start our cars earlier.
Yeah, it got really, really cold here. We did see that. But yeah, so I my heart goes out to everyone who is in a situation right now that it's just untenable. And I mean, I have so many things to say, but let's not get political here on Not Again. Suffice it to say, we are certainly not making fun of freezing to death. If anything, I think it should be taken more seriously by this movie. And so we're not joshing about that particularly. But she does go underprepared, I feel, for this winter. We get the woman going, I love this woman. Snow? Yes, snow. I know that what she's saying is she can't believe that it's snowing in July because it's summer, whatever. I'm saying it's July. But it sounds like she is baffled by the concept of snow. Snow?
Ice?
Yeah, everyone's really, really into snow and ice in this movie. So she goes off. That's trip number 2 to the North Mountain. She would take a less direct route, to be continued. Here's Let It Go. It's still night. It seems like Elsa walked up there in one night. This is what we talked about last time, because then it comes back to Anna searching for her, so same night, right? So we go to Let It Go. And the question that I have is, I will say this to anybody who will listen, because I don't know, I feel self-conscious about how bad at singing I am, I guess. I come from a long line of bad singers. I think my grandmother is full-on tone deaf. I am not. So I can't sing for my life. I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, but I do have a pretty decent ear. I've been told this by people who know music, okay? And I'm not saying this to brag, I swear. I'm just saying this to clarify the next thing I'm about to say. First of all, I've heard Idina Menzel in Wicked, and she is spectacular, but she has a musical theater background. Which brings us to the first time I saw Frozen in the movie theater. One of the problems here was that they had cranked up the sound times a billion in that movie theater. It was too loud in general. But it sounded like she wasn't hitting the notes in Let It Go.
Maybe it was clipping or something like that.
Yes. And I was surprised. I was like, Idina Menzel not hitting notes? What's going on? And then it kind of dawned on me after further viewings that I think what they did, and I can't know this for sure, right? It sounds like they put her in a sound booth and said, sing for the cheap seats, which is not how it should. I know this, even without a musical theater background, that there's a different way that you sing when you are on stage versus in a sound booth.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, if you're singing for the back of the house, is what you're saying, for the people in the nosebleed section, you really do have to belt it out. And when you're singing for a microphone that's right in front of you, it can
be
more
different. Controlled,
yeah.
Right? And so again, I'm not saying she can't sing. I'm just wondering about the direction that they gave her, and because,
if any at all.
If any at all, if it was just like, you're Idina Menzel, sing, and you can hear her sing this song, for instance, just live. I mean, you put it on, you Google it you'll find it on YouTube, and I bet it sounds a lot better. I haven't. Why would I seek out hearing Let It Go again? You know what I mean? But I'm sure it's much better.
And also, not every movie theater sound system has been looked at lately. Maybe it was just kind of
right.
Not so great.
I will say I looked up a live performance of Let It Go, the sequel, which is just when she sang Into the Unknown in the sequel, because that was just Let It Go again. I still loved that song. I still like Let It Go, if I'm being honest, even if the lyrics are kind of just nothing. I'm an English teacher. I overanalyze lyrics too. This should not shock you, but do I manage to throw out that I'm an English teacher it sounds like I'm bragging about that too. You know what? I'm full of myself. You guys just need to know this.
That can be your catchphrase. My catchphrase is we've got to cut that out, and yours is I'm an English teacher.
And no one knows about your catchphrase because I always do cut it out. But no. So I Googled a live performance of Into the Unknown, and it was beautiful. I know she can sing, is what I'm saying. I know it. And honestly, that was why I was so surprised in Enchanted when she was cast and did not have a singing role. But whatever, she did fine in that. So Let It Go happens. I don't like the way that they cut her and directed her and recorded her sound.
But it won an Oscar, so who are we to judge?
Right. No, I one of the questions I wrote in my notes was, it sounds strained. Maybe the opposite happened. Maybe they told her to pull back, but she wasn't quite used to it. That sounds less plausible. She's a very conditioned singer, so I doubt that was the case. But I'm not an expert enough to declare this is what happened, so I wanted to offer another explanation, basically. That's what I said in my notes. Okay, Elsa's plan. So we've talked about Hans's plan. Elsa's plan. There's no food. There's no bathroom. She says the cold doesn't bother her, so the ice bed wouldn't be a problem, at least, if she makes an ice bed for herself to live in this castle. Because she does plan on living in this castle forever, right? That's her idea.
Well, it's not like she went to Arendelle University in architecture. She just made like an awesome ice sculpture. She didn't plan out and here's the guest bedroom and the bathroom and the shower and the.
Yeah, she's not going to shower, but she's also going to be frozen all the time, so maybe the stink won't matter. Also, who's she going to be offending? The penguins?
Are her clothes made of ice? Because it seems like they
are later, for sure. And we'll talk about that. Actually, we'll talk about it right now. We got to nail down Elsa's powers. So this is everybody always goes on about how she creates life. And yeah, I have a fix for that, basically, because it is a little weird. But we'll get to Olaf. Oh, we'll get to Olaf. But I'm talking about specifically where her ice comes from. Not what her powers can do, but where they come from. Because we have seen her produce snow and ice from her hands/fingertips. We have also seen her produce from her feet, right? When she goes to run across the fjord. That makes sense. She can shoot ice out of her hands. She can freeze things with her feet, although it freezes through her shoes. All right, whatever. We'll go with it. The problem I have is during the musical interlude in Let It Go, when she creates the castle, it comes not from her hands, not from her feet, not from her body at all. It grows up out of the snow. Where is that ice coming from?
Does she just have the reality stone? I think I think it's just in the Avengers universe. She's the current owner of the reality stone.
You brought an Avengers reference into it? Really? That's not where I thought you were going at all. No, so that bothers me. I want the consistency of her powers coming from her. I hate watching that castle grow up out of the ground, because that's not coming from her then. That's, coming from nowhere. It just decided to grow in response to her. I don't like that.
She's like Superman. Her powers are just whatever they need to be to get to the next plot point.
Yes, and then, of course, we need to nail down her powers. Apparently, and again, we're trying not to ape the Honest trailer too much, but it does need to be touched on. Apparently, she can create clothes, she can create snow, she can create ice, and she can create life. And they kind of gloss over it. She just looks at her own hands in awe and then goes, okay, sounds good. I can create life. And she does it again with Marshmallow. That's the official name of that big snowman character, by the way, according to the subtitles. This is my fix for it, right? Because, which is completely undone by the short that I think Heather Sinclair made me watch at some point, where she literally has a cold and is sneezing out little sentient, oh, there it is again.
Aware is the word.
Aware teeny tiny snow babies that just exist later. I think they're in an after credit scene or something in the sequel or something.
Are they supposed to be minions? Are they Disney's answer to Minions?
Yes, exactly. So she's creating life on a sneeze. That's how, and it's too much, right? So my fix for it would simply be that she can transfer some of her own energy into these ice beings, but that means that she couldn't do it endlessly, right? She couldn't do it without limit, because then she would become too weak herself.
That sort of makes sense, because Olaf is sort of like her whimsy. And it's something she's, God, I hate it saying it, letting go right now.
Yeah.
She's being serious, and so this is a thing from her past, thing from her sister, this little snowman that she remembers fondly, and she's leaving it behind, and so she just puts that out of her body, and then it springs that part of her soul into life. And when she's really mad and she's upset, she pushes Marshmallow out into the universe.
Right. So it's a reflection of her own psyche, which is obviously too much to do in a Disney movie, but that's how I would do it, I guess. The other thing that we have to talk about.
Oh, I have a fix about how she got up the North Mountain so fast.
Okay, sure.
All right. So you remember in Avatar: The Last Airbender when Toph has to beeline it back to Ba Sing Se, and she's like running. She's almost like ice skating on like mounds of earth.
Yeah.
and it's like propelling her forward at 10s and 15s and 20s of miles an hour. Elsa just does that with the snow.
Sure.
She
propels herself.
She just put the snow under. But we never get to see it, unfortunately, because it'd be pretty cool to just kind of put some ice underneath her feet and just launch herself up the mountain. But we don't get to see that, unfortunately, because it would be awesome.
It would be awesome. Too awesome for Disney. I'm going to talk more about Olaf later, but since we brought up her life-giving powers, you'll notice that Marshmallow does not have eyes. He has eye holes because Marshmallow is supposed to look scary. Unfortunately, Olaf is supposed to look charming and sell toys, and so he just has eyes. But where did Olaf get those eyes? In his original iteration in the beginning of the movie, he has coal for eyes like any snowman would. But when he's alive, he has eyes. Did he acquire them from some hapless bystander? And just, I like Dark Olaf as like a headcanon sort of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, creating snow that can like move and make noise or something is already pretty far-fetched. But like creating functional eyeballs.
Yeah. Actually, the snow powers extend to his wooden arms too.
That's true.
Which they just gloss over as well. That's not ice. That's sticks. Those tree branches.
Is she?
But he can bend them.
Is blood bending? Is she snow bending?
She's snow bending.
There's ice in the branches.
He's like Edward Cullen. He has like crystals inside of him that function and blah blah blah. Whatever. Not Again will return after a message from our sponsor.
This is Unsighted, the internet's least reliable English lit podcast. I'm Chantal.
And I'm Amy, and we're two reformed English majors.
And former roommates.
We discuss the literary works we read in our undergrad and beyond.
Come hang out with us while we chat about the books, plays, short stories, and poems that we loved and,
love less.
Look up Unsighted, an English lit podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And here's a short clip from our episode on The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. And then he says, "Though I have seen my head grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and here's no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker. And in short, I was afraid." And here's where he's afraid of death.
Right.
But I don't think he's actually afraid of death. I think he's just afraid of, like, he'll get to the end of his life and it will have all not meant anything.
Yeah, I think he's afraid of not living to the fullest. I think he has FOMO and a bit of not enough YOLO.
Yes, that's exactly what he has.
He's all FOMO, no YOLO.
And now, back to the show. Anyway, we will get back to Olaf, but this is where I'm going to issue a for surezies trigger warning. It's going to be real quick. Let me look at our next bullet point so that I know our next bullet point is going to be Oaken. Ooh-hoo. So when you hear us talking about Oaken, you'll know that you're safe. We are going to talk about freezing to death a little bit. So if that's not good for you, obviously just skip forward until we are talking about Oaken. Okay. Anna is searching. Same night, right? You know, Elsa's getting up to the North Mountain. Anna's still searching for her.
Well, she didn't have time to change, so obviously it's the same. She just left from the ceremony.
Her horse spooks and leaves her, as I said. And first Anna gets covered in snow, and we're supposed to laugh at that. Ha ha ha. Then she slips and falls into a creek of ice water, which would immediately get soaked up into all of her clothes. And obviously, again, they make a joke about it freezing over when she's trying to walk to Oakens and whatever. But ice water is cold. And honestly, survival experts will tell you that if you get your clothes covered in ice water, you need to take them off.
Yeah.
Which is not us getting, raunchy here. You know, it's a cartoon and we're not those kinds of people. It's just the truth because the clothes will freeze you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wet clothing no longer keeps your heat in; it wicks the heat away from you. Right. And so, if you have wet clothes, you take them off. You're better off without them by a long shot.
So, survival expert here, not really. I've just heard this. Take your clothes off if you ever get doused in ice water, and then seek warmth somehow. Bury yourself in the snow or something. I don't know. That part I don't know.
Yeah, there's something about like if it's it's dry snow, you can like dry yourself with dry snow somehow.
Yeah, I guess maybe
like if it's cold enough,
it freezes
the water off of you.
That's interesting.
You'd have to ask, Bear Grylls or their survival man. Or
I'd rather not talk to Bear Grylls.
Yeah, well,
it's
whatever.
all the same to you. So that's that. So she sees Oaken's sauna and trading post. I do wonder who he is doing trade deals with in the middle of nowhere like that. The trolls, like who are his customers? Obviously Kristoff. Kristoff comes by like it's his regular thing. He knows where the carrots are, all that stuff. But seems like a kind of bad place for a shop, but he's doing well for himself.
It could be like a seasonal thing. He's got a sauna.
Yeah, he's got a sauna.
So maybe in the winter, like the regular winter, not the freak winter, he gets people up there, they get the nice warm sauna.
Yeah, and I like him just fine. No complaints about this character. I do find it funny that he is more openly gay than LeFou is in the live action Beauty and the Beast. And nobody had a kerfuffle about that. Although I did see some people on the internet trying to claim that one of the daughters is his wife or something. Like they were trying to.
Oh, that's way bad.
They were trying to say that's not his daughter, that's his wife. Like they were trying to say, yeah. But
I know, yeah, I didn't mean the other thing.
In other words, they were trying to justify it so that he wasn't gay. He's absolutely gay. I paused it just to be sure. There's a blonde man who looks nothing like the 4 children around him, and then there's 4 children who look very similar. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good for them. Whatever. Yay, gay. The snow effects are great. Positivity continues for the movie.
The art style in a lot of this movie I really do like.
Yes. And I mean, I'm thinking specifically of Kristoff walking in covered in snow. Obviously, we know living in North Dakota that snow would immediately start melting as soon as he got inside. So the fact that it continues to cling to him throughout the scene, but it's still really good effect. And then, haha, Ludafisk. I just wrote, Ludafisk.
Ludafisk is gross.
Ludafisk is gross. Doesn't your dad have a mug that
he has a mug that says "Friends don't let friends try Ludafisk" or something like that.
Yeah.
We're up here in a part of the country where there's quite a bit of Scandinavian population.
Yeah.
Including part of my heritage, actually. But
yeah, not mine. It was kind of funny. There's a lot of foods up here I'm unfamiliar with, and we were having Thanksgiving and at my in-laws' house, and somebody said, "Oh, so and so's bringing lefse," and I went, "Oh, who's she?" And it turns out that lefse is a food. And you should look it up. It's spelled weird, though. It's like Lefse or L-O-E-F-S-E.
It ends in an E,
yeah.
lefse, F-E.
Yeah. But it's delicious. It's basically just a conduit for butter and sugar, and apparently there's a lot of hot debate about whether it's brown sugar or white sugar that you put in there. Obviously brown sugar, that's not
I'm surprisingly not a fan.
Well, you don't really like sweet things.
I'm not a big sweets person. I like my sweets, if it's sweet, to go with another flavor, basically.
Okay, let's rapid fire some of these because we are not doing well. Why does he say reindeers? Should I look this up? Is the plural of reindeer not reindeer?
I'm almost completely sure that the plural of reindeer is reindeer.
Why would they change the rule just because it has rain in the front of it?
I think he's just being cute. He's like, reindeers.
Maybe, but I don't understand it. It wouldn't have changed the meter of the song for him to sing it correctly. Reindeer are better than people. Maybe they just thought it sounded weird.
I don't know.
But it bothers me that he sings reindeers. We are, of course, talking about Kristoff singing his love song to Sven.
I like that song. I thought it was cute.
It is a cute song, yes. And I don't want to pile on with more jokes about Kristoff and Sven because the movie already makes more than 0. The movies already make more than 0, and I don't like that.
The movie is worse to them than we could be.
Yeah. So, still the same night. Remember, I'm still doing my math here. Anna gets Kristoff to take her to the North Mountain. I did really love her attempt to be authoritative in this scene where she was like, "We're leaving now, right now." And then she's like breathing out like, I don't know how that worked. I thought that was cute and funny. I love her character. I hate that they tried and failed to recreate it for Moana. Yeah, I don't like Moana and I don't like Tom Hanks, okay? Please don't come at me. I'm a mother of 2 children and I'm allowed to have opinions, even if they differ from your own. Is Kristoff okay with her being a princess? That's my next note. He was raised by trolls that apparently recognize the sovereignty of the king, so that's fine. But he later asks, so why did the queen go all ice crazy? So he knows that this is the princess of Arendelle sitting next to him right now, and that they are going off to, like, fetch the queen from her ice home, and he is very chill about it.
Yeah, I was just now that you're saying it, he's very nonchalant. He's like, I guess this is the biggest adventure of my life.
Yeah. He's just like, yeah, get in my sled, Princess Anna. And they have a joke later where he says, where were you raised? A barn? And she says, no, a castle. But he knows that. He knows she's a princess. She made never mind about it. She was not hiding that. And he is still just very chill about the whole thing. So I don't know why he recognizes the sovereignty of the king more than the trolls, right? I don't know.
Well, he's still got his mini ice lodge next to the larger ice lodge. So like, what can she do to him? You know, like he's a rugged individual.
He's still living in his childhood ice lodge. Well, clearly,
that's a callback to, I think, episode 1 of this series. So if you haven't heard that, then.
Well, clearly he's not, though, because he needed a place to sleep for the night, and he like broke into Oaken's barn or whatever. It's unclear if Kristoff has a home.
It is unclear where Kristoff sleeps normally. I understand that the snowstorm came in pretty hot.
Okay, we are rapid firing.
All right. Onward,
yes,
but not the movie
not
Onward.
The movie Onward.
It sucks. I heard.
It's awful. Didn't your parents ever warn you about strangers? Yes, they did. Gold. Solid gold. That's all I wanted to say. Great line, great exchange, wonderful. Wolves. They will always be the villains to Disney. Wolves are Disney
never
villains.
The main villain, just a throwaway villain in the middle of a thing.
They get the plot done, those wolves. They get the princesses where they need to be. They get Belle to the castle. They get Anna and Kristoff closer to the North Mountain.
The mouse is just paying them. He's just like, all right, I need you to move a princess for me.
Yes, the mouse. So wolves are villains in Disney's estimation, even though they are just predators who want to eat. Action princess do want Mary. Why did I write that? Oh, because she helps to fight the wolves. And that was a reference to our Brave episodes with our good friend Martin. You should listen to those. That was a couple episodes ago, I think episodes 20 and 21. But in this case, we have an action princess who do want Mary. She throws stuff at the wolves. She tries to get Sven to jump over a ravine that he really shouldn't be able to make it over. She fights Marshmallow, so she's an action princess. At least they're trying, I guess. A for effort. You know, Anna and Tiana. Anyway, they're two separate characters. They are action princesses. I said have Alan explain the physics of the sled jump thing. I don't know if we have time.
It seemed dubious to me. Let's move on.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that Sven and Kristoff and Anna would have made it across the ravine. They pushed off from the sled. Anyway, whatever.
Sled payments exist as a joke, I guess.
As a joke, yeah. The ice droplets on the trees when they go to the area where they meet Olaf, those were gorgeous. I loved that scene. Again, ice effects great. Sven's jubilation filled me with joy as well as he kind of tinkled around and hit them with his horns. Olaf is a tonal shift for this movie. We already talked about the eyes, but I'm reading my notes, and as usual, I've thrown myself off. I actually like what Josh Gad did with him, but the design. But anyway, he has eyes. Marshmallow doesn't have eyes. Setting aside the fact that Elsa created life, Olaf has eyes. Also, how does her ice magic animate the wood in his arms? And later he uses his nose to smell, his carrot nose to smell. He sniffs flowers with his carrot nose.
That's right.
So yeah.
And he sneezes for some reason, right?
Yes, he sneezes the carrot out of his face. He
sneezes his nose clean off.
Elsa has too many powers. We'll get to that too later. I like the irony of the summer song that he wants to see summer, but it will melt him, and it's dramatic irony. You know, the I'm gonna tell him cut in was great. But again, drastic tonal shift. We suddenly have anachronistic scenery. We have references to Mary Poppins. It's out of nowhere. It doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. And I learned that day that Josh Gad can sing.
Oh yeah, he really
can belt it out.
Got some pipes.
Yeah, but the movie established an aesthetic already, and this does not fit. Not that Disney I wrote not that Disney never does this, which is so many double negatives, I don't even know where to start. Disney has done this before. And honestly, it made me think about how often Disney has done this before. Timon and Pumbaa, tonal shift, comic relief, right? They sing a song about farting. That's how tonal shifty it is. Right after the death of Mufasa, spoiler alert for a 30-year-old movie or whatever, but that is a tonal shift. And then we have the genie from Aladdin, who is Robin Williams, and I will never speak ill of Robin Williams, but the anachronisms, the tonal shifts in Aladdin, and yet those fit. I don't know why, but they did. they fit somehow in the movie. I think because it was just a cartoon.
Yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. When you, it's maybe a little uncanny valley stuff. The more realistic people look,
Yes.
the more when you have a talking snowman with a carrot nose that can smell, you get a little bit like,
And
that's not what fits here.
him singing about being in a hot tub. It just feels jarring overall. And again, his design was what bothered me the most. I think they could have made his design fit with the aesthetic of the movie better, even if that meant not hiring Josh Gad as the voice actor. But there we are. So my next question is, we cut back to the castle town, and all of these people are hanging around outside in the freezing weather, waiting for free cloak handouts, tradable goods. And it's weird because they have homes. I know firewood is in short supply. They have people like fighting over it later or whatever, but surely it's still better to be inside. And Hans even tells them to go into the castle for your favorite part, Hot Glog, whom we joked was a person who was incredibly handsome or attractive named Hot Glog. He's just saying the castle's open and Hot Glog is in there. Go check him out.
Just feel better. Gaze upon Hot Glog.
Hot Glog is great. I don't know. Hot Glog struck me as a they, but I can't assign pronouns to Hot Glog.
Especially because he's not even a character. They
Right.
aren't even a character.
Exactly. So he, him, or they, I don't know. But
Yeah.
Hot Glog, that was, obviously it's some sort of drink, food. It's
Yeah,
supposed
well,
to-
there's grog, but that's alcoholic.
Yeah, I don't.
So they
yeah.
can't have.
Maybe it's just made up. I don't know.
Well, it's got to be made up. I'm going back to people looking for tradable goods. Winter happens every year in Arendelle, just not usually at this time of year. So presumably, everybody who lives there has winter clothing. They might be deep in a closet or in a bin or like in winter storage or whatever. But like,
Yes.
you own a coat. You live in Arendelle.
Just like we said for Anna,
Exactly.
they would have. Glog is a glog with, it says glog or glog. I guess there's different pronunciations or different spellings at the very least. One of them has the dots over the O, one of them doesn't. Is a spiced, usually alcoholic mulled wine or spirit. It is a traditional Nordic drink during winter, especially around Christmas. So there we go.
Okay,
So
well, never mind.
Glog-
I thought they were getting around that grog. Grog is, I think, is rum and water.
yeah, glog is also alcoholic, so, but they have alcohol. Like Gaston in the cartoon and in the live action chugging away at beer.
I suppose that's true.
LeFou even says, more beer? Like, he's offering him that. So they have alcohol in Disney movies, which means we can talk about it too, even though we've jokingly skirted around it in the past. So we leave Hot Glog, and nobody goes inside, is all I'm saying. He's like, go inside. There's warmth and hot drink, and you don't have to stand out here hoping for a blanket. And everyone's like, nah, I'm good out here. I want to see more of this ice.
Yeah, maybe they're just impressed. They're just like, I don't want to go. What else is going to happen? I don't want to miss it.
This is still the greatest adventure of our lives. Trip 3 to the North Mountain. Hans and company. They leave in the morning, it seems like, so Anna's horse has gotten back to them. They notice Anna is in trouble. Hans says, I need some volunteers to go with me. The Duke does his red herring thing of telling his henchmen to kill the queen, which, by the way, he jumped to regicide. Regicide? Is it regicide for just kings?
Regicide, I think, is just royal of any kind.
Yeah,
So.
he jumped to that really quickly.
Yeah.
And his henchmen are incredibly loyal. They're just like, yep, gonna do that. No question.
Look, if you have enough tradable goods, you can get people that'll do your dirty work.
Yeah, they are just on board for killing the queen of this other
How
country.
hilarious would a scene be if they were like riding up the mountain and they were just like, do we have to?
Yeah, like, can
like-
we find employment elsewhere?
Just like maybe, I've always considered being an ice skater or an ice cutter.
Apparently, maybe Christoph's hiring.
my brother is really into tradable goods. Maybe he can hook me up with his line of work. Like, I don't know if I want to go kill somebody.
Yeah, anyway, the point is that this is trip through the North Mountain. It seems like it takes them a very short amount of time to get there, but they're also on horseback. And I'm going to cut to when they're dragging Elsa's unconscious body back to Arendelle, which we don't see, but it is implied because she knocks herself out and she wakes up in the castle. That must have been a difficult trip because someone would have had an unconscious queen with them. And we've already, we haven't discussed, but the world has discussed how if you're knocked unconscious for longer than 30 seconds, there is a high probability of something permanently being damaged. But that aside, she still probably wouldn't have been asleep unconscious for very long, certainly not days. So, sorry, you were going to say something about...
Yeah, no, it's this thing in movies or in TV shows and cartoons and stuff where people get bonked on the head and they're unconscious, and it's just a plot device because for a lot of things, it's just like, oh, they can't be cognizant during this transfer or this time or this conversation. But like that sort of that in real life that can happen. You get knocked unconscious. It's extremely dangerous.
Yes, and it takes a lot of it takes a huge blow to the head.
Yeah, and it's extremely dangerous. And if anybody ever is in a situation like that, call 911 immediately.
Yeah. And I think that probably the worst offender is Tangled when she knocks out Flynn Rider for laughs 4 or 5 times with a skillet. His head would be stoved in. Anyway, so I'm going to make my final conclusion. The North Mountain is a couple hours horseback ride away, somehow longer than that on foot, but not even that much longer. Again, maybe Elsa used her powers to get herself up there quicker. The next thing is a tidbit that I wanted to share. When they go to Elsa's ice palace, Anna tells Olaf to give her a minute, and he starts counting as a joke. 1, 2, and then on the 4, Kristoff actually joins in, and he says 4, like he's resigned. I counted, because I'm me, and also I've seen this movie a lot. And he actually does count for an exact minute in real movie time before bursting in on them. So that they followed through with that joke, which doesn't give Elsa and Anna a lot of time to talk. And so within that minute, Anna finds Elsa. Elsa reveals that she's hot now. Anna likes the look. And then Anna reveals to Elsa that Elsa can create life with her ice powers, and Elsa gets over it all within that minute. Then Olaf bursts in on that.
Yeah, Elsa's surprised Olaf exists. Like, she made the snowman and just kind of like, la-di-da, went on with her triumphant song. And then when Olaf comes back in all sentient, all aware, self-aware, all self-aware of himself, she's surprised that he can think thoughts for himself.
And you're alive? I think so. And she just stares at her hands, and then they move on. I wrote, this is not the time to sing, Anna. Read the room. I hate that. Not hate, but I'm consternated by this. Anna reveals to Elsa that she has frozen the world or the country almost definitely permanently. Elsa does not know how to unfreeze things. That some people have posited that she shouldn't be able to, since her powers are to create ice, and uncreating ice is technically an entirely different power. And Anna's like, let's sing about how we can do this together. And I'm like, Anna, no, stop singing. This is not the time.
Yes, Arendelle is in deep, 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 deep snow.
But then Elsa says, I can't unfreeze it. And Anna goes, sure you can. I know we can. I'm not going to sing it, obviously, but because aforementioned
for the first time in forever. But like,
she's singing that. Stop, Anna. Don't sing that.
Anna's very naive, I guess, confident that everything's going to be just A-okay. But like, there's no reason to think that someone who can shoot ice out of their hands can shoot ice and make it not ice anymore.
Yeah. I said in my notes, don't get me wrong, I can accept that this girl was born with ice powers for no reason. Troll Grandpa asks about it like it happens every day. He's just like, born with it or cursed, like, here's another one. And the king was even just like, oh, born with it, it happens. But the limits of her powers obviously still need to be explored, as we've talked about. Marshmallow's goal was to yell, don't come back at them. How'd you like my marshmallow?
Very good.
Should I do another take? Or
no? No, it was A-okay, 100%.
Thank you. This is why we're married. You're so supportive of me. 6 years. Wow, can't believe it. All right. But why were they, I know why they were running. I suppose, why was he chasing them in a kind of fee-fi-fo-fum, I'm going to kill you sort of way, if his goal was to say, don't come back? Because he had the opportunity when he was dangling them from the rope or whatever to eat them, kill them.
Well, also they were rappelling down the side of the mountain in the process of leaving.
Yeah, so he didn't have to pull them back up.
Marshmallow should have just been like, thanks for doing the thing I wanted.
Yeah, so Disney realized that they couldn't have the giant fanged ice monster actually do anything that dangerous. The Olaf pun count is off the charts. He yells heads up when his head, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They love making butt jokes. I wrote enough butt jokes, thank you. And if I'm saying enough butt jokes, there are too many butt jokes in your movie. I don't exactly have that sophisticated of a sense of humor. The next thing that bothers me about this, the troll reveal. They have to stay rocks when they show up at the troll place for the Olaf Anna comedic misunderstanding of Kristoff talking to rocks. But Kristoff is talking to them. He has been raised by them. He's lived with them. So he's talking to them like they can understand him. And yet, when they do eventually pop up, they seem surprised to see him there, as if they have not actually heard him speaking. And Kristoff would know whether or not they could hear him.
He's lived with them for, I don't know, 12 years, ballparking 12, 14.
I would say longer, yeah,
okay.
14, 15 years.
14, 15 years. He should know, like, when they can hear him and when they can't.
Do you have to, like, converse with them in rock form to get them to wake up? I don't know. So they, all for the sake of a joke, they did this. I hate when they, for the sake of a joke, will bring up more questions than they answer. The biggest offender, I'm talking about a lot of big offenders. It's not Tangled this time, although Tangled has its own fair share of plot holes. The biggest offender in my book is Inside Out, a Pixar movie that I did not like, where for the sake of getting a song stuck in your head jingle sort of joke, they show that these marble thoughts can be direct lines straight back into the brain. And Joy, who is holding all these marble thoughts that desperately need to get back to the brain, just goes, "That's nice," and moves on. And it was all for the sake of a joke that this plot hole was opened up. That's what I'm saying. It didn't have to be.
Yeah. So the jingle path. We don't need to get into it. We're already so late.
Yeah, we're going too long.
I understood what you said. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. The gist of the troll song: he's a fixer-upper. We're not saying you have to change him. People don't really change, but if you love him, you'll bring out his best. So change him with your love, but don't change him. He won't change. But if you love him, he will. Fixer-upper implies you will change him. Fixer-upper implies that you have to change him, right? You don't move into a fixer-upper and go like, "Okay, house, get better.
Be who you are, house falling down." So yeah.
Yeah, you fix it up. So the song is not good.
The entire point of the song is throw love their way and bring out their best, referring not to Kristoff, but referring to Elsa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so setting up the love will bring out the best sort of thing. But
sure,
like
love is the answer.
Love is the answer.
That she discovers later.
But like the song, I mean, like if you tried to figure out what the actual message of the Fixer-Upper song, it's directly contradicting itself many times about whether or not you should be with somebody who
needs some work.
Yeah. And it says no, and it says yes, and it says maybe, all at the same time.
It's not a good message, because we should never be with somebody on the condition that you believe that they will change or that you have to change them. Where did the unmanly blondness thing come from? I've Googled it and people have offered various explanations. The full line is, are you holding back your fondness due to his unmanly blondness? And some people have said that because children tend to have lighter hair when they're younger and it gets darker as they grow up, that it's unmanly in that it's childish. I don't know. And also I will point out, they're in a part of the world where a lot of people should be blonde or are blonde.
They just are, yeah. A lot of people are blonde up in the fictional Norse area.
Right, and I say should be because, honestly, for a movie that takes place in a fictional Norwegian area or Swedish or whatever, again, my geography is non-existent. My geography knowledge is non-existent. There should be more blonde people, but honestly, we have Elsa and we have Kristoff, and everyone else is,
Well, Anna's red.
Anna's got red. Hans has got red. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, we're talking too much about the hair. All right, so we can't do another Frozen episode.
We got to finish this.
Yeah. Alan has a favorite thing to say. I don't know if you'll remember this, so I might have to cut this out. But when the little tiny troll baby says, "And by the way, I don't see no ring," you say,
"Oh, they teach him that early."
They teach him that early, do they? The trolls. I love that line.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The little one is what, like 4?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, better put a ring on it.
Yeah. So trolls.
It's a strong family culture, those trolls.
Yeah. I think the whole song was just to get them on. So this is my little. I have no confirmation of this. I think the whole song was just to get them on level with Troll Grandpa so they can have a conversation with him that's easily framed. So they dig a hole to stick Anna and Kristoff in as a joke for their, quote, wedding ceremony.
Yeah, their marriage hole.
But because moving on, because they're standing in a hole, they are on eye level more or less with the trolls, which allows them an easier conversation. So they don't have to hunch or anything like that.
And there's not like a power dynamic sort of
no juxtaposition
thing.
whatsoever. So Troll Grandpa shows up, talks to them, tells them about true love, and then I love this part. The trolls behind Troll Grandpa go, "Oh, true love's kiss will cure her," and they kiss each other, and her ice heart gets worse. So sorry, trolls, your love is not true, and you're gonna have to contend with that, because they have to go right off to find some actual true love. Bye, enjoy your life of fake love, which I just find so funny. It gets worse when they kiss. So they think they have true love, and she just gets more icy. So Hans and co arrive at the castle now. Unclear how much time has been passed, but we have to move on. How did they know to go there, is my question. Anna only knew to go to the North Mountain because Kristoff happened to run into her and tell her.
Where the ice was coming from?
Yeah, like Kristoff knew. How did they know? Did Marshmallow point the way? Did they talk to Anna's house? Was it a house? Did they talk to Anna's horse? Was it aware this whole time? They were like, "Horse, tell us which way to go."
That's true. The goons, they didn't. Why? I mean, obviously they sort of had a general direction in which she scampered.
But the horse came back. That's how they knew that she was in danger. No one told them, "Oh, North Mountain." So they just show up there as if they knew to go there the whole time. Once again, ice is ice. So this dude is pushing back against Elsa's ice wall thingy. We're in the ice fight now. It sounds like I'm cutting weird, but honestly, I am just jumping around.
We're skipped. This isn't cuts.
I'm just skipping forward rapid fire.
We've got to finish this episode, man.
Yes,
we got to finish Frozen.
Ice is ice. So the dude is pushing back on an ice floor against Ice's ice wall thingy. He would just slip and fall, and no more henchman.
Or just no effort would do anything.
There's no traction there when you have ice floor. I am very proud of myself. So this is the other potentially evil Hans moment. I referenced one in a different episode, and I honestly don't even remember what it was. But I am very proud of myself for noticing that Hans glances up. It took me a couple tries, actually, like to notice it. But when Hans sees that one of the henchmen is pointing a crossbow at Elsa, he glances up for a second and then runs and purposely shoves the arm upward so that the crossbow bolt goes into the chandelier. And it clicked with me. I was like, wait, he would have glanced up and seen that the chandelier was a hindrance, was there. And then it clicked like, oh, yeah. He looked up and saw his opportunity to look like he was trying to save the queen, but actually kill her by dropping a chandelier on her instead. But it didn't work because she ran away from it because it flew, honestly, because it fell in slow motion. And she hit her head real hard, apparently, on the ice, and so hard that she was knocked out for several hours.
And Elsa made chandeliers and not a bathroom.
Yes. Well, we didn't see the whole now.
I suppose we didn't get. I kind of want to see the layout.
We can't make too many bathroom jokes because we've already disparaged bathroom jokes.
That's
we can't
true.
be hypocrites. Anyway, people pointed out on the internet that he looks up, and I was like, I noticed that before you pointed it out. Internet. Trip back from the North Mountain. Elsa's unconscious the whole time, and she wakes up in jail. I said even if it's a 5-minute trip, she definitely has brain damage. Why is she just acting like Hans is the king of her country now? I wrote that in my notes. Like Hans is like, I'll see what I can do. And she should just be like, let me out. I'm queen still. You don't get to decide what's illegal in my country.
My sister isn't even like confirmed injured. It's just your word at this point.
Yeah, she hasn't come back, but she also went off on her own. So technically her death, if she is dead, is still not Elsa's fault.
And for all we know, she's at Oakensauna having a great time.
Yeah, Oaken's family seems great.
Yeah, you can't just be like, well, Hans, said that she's missing, possibly dead, and it's your fault. Yeah. So I get to tell your subjects that you're dangerous.
Like, if Air Bud can play basketball because nothing in the rule book says he can't, Elsa can freeze her entire country permanently. There probably isn't a law against that.
There's nothing in the rule book that says you can't freeze Arendelle.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to allow it. She hasn't done anything legitimately illegal. She is still queen of this country, and Hans can go away. But instead we have all these foreign diplomats discussing the fate of Arendelle as if it's any of their business, as we've already said. You cannot risk going out there again. You are all Arendelle has left, all of that stuff. It's like, you guys don't get to say what Arendelle has left. The queen is right there. Let her make decisions for her country. I hate Hans's villain speech. We're going to say that real quick. What on earth was his plan? I hate the line, "You won't get away with this." My mom actually hated his response more, which is, "I already have." And to be fair, he hasn't. And so to say he already has is a little presumptuous.
His plan is a little bit working, but like he's still got to stab some people. That is part of his plan.
He's got to fool some people, got to stab a queen. It's still, it
hasn't already worked.
But apparently, according to my mother, that line is also a cliche. And I hadn't heard it before, but the "you won't get away with this" I'd heard before. So I hated that cliche. I hate the whole moment. And then my favorite part, I said this a lot, one of my favorite parts, he goes into this room with all these foreign diplomats who are deciding the fate of Arendelle because they've named themselves Arendelle Fate Deciders. And he says, "Princess Anna is dead, but we said our marriage vows before she died. I swear." And they're like, "Yep, sounds legit. Just leave her body where she fell. No one go check on her.
No one go check to see if she's dead. She is currently alive.
Her tomb shall be the room where she fell."
Anybody could just go like, "I want to pay my respects" or something.
Or we should move her.
We should move her. We should do the last rites or something. Yeah. And it's like she's just alive right now.
So Hans wanders in and is like, "I'm king now because I've decided that the queen can't be queen because I put her in jail and that works. And 2, I married the princess who I guess was queen because the queen's in jail.
Even though she's not of age yet.
Yeah, and I'm king now. And don't go look at, she's dead. Just leave her be."
Don't even look at her.
That room will be her final resting place. And everyone's like, "Sounds good. Man, that sucks that she died though. Glad you got married. So sorry about that. So sorry about your wife. You were married for 10 seconds.
How was the reception?"
Yeah. Oh, she died? Oh, well, oof. Have some hot glog. And hot glog wanders in and is like, "Hello, I'm very hot." And they're like, "You are.
And you're newly single."
Yeah. So then Kristoff is moping away from the kingdom and says, "No, Sven, we're not going back." And then immediately sees this weird storm and is like, "We're going back." That wasn't played for laughs, but it was very funny to me. A carrot is not a lockpick, is what I'm going to say next. Olaf gets into the room. Olaf is the only one. The talking snowman's like, "I'm going to go check." And he goes and he uses his nose as a lockpick. The carrot is not a lockpick. That's not how lockpicks work. I've played Skyrim. Some people are worth melting for, is what he says. And it's supposed to be an awe moment. But number one, he does know what melting is then. Like his whole song
that's
earlier.
True. The song earlier, he's figured it out.
Yeah, the song earlier was him not knowing what melting was, but apparently he knows. And second of all, he clearly doesn't mean that because he just doesn't. Immediately, he's like, "Some people are worth melting for, but not right this second." And he pulls himself back up, and conceivably he doesn't want to melt in case he'd be abandoning her essentially to her fate. But it's kind of funny to be like, "You're worth melting for, but not really." He runs to the window and says Kristoff is coming back. Some people have said that if he had chosen to melt for her, that would have been an act of true love. I think so, for sure. To die for somebody, as we've seen, that's what Anna does, is an act of true love. To stay with her no matter what, I think that would have worked, and she would have been cured. And then we wouldn't have had to deal with Olaf anymore, which is cool. Was Kristoff bringing her to Hans and leaving her forever not an act of true love?
Yeah, come on.
Olaf literally says it is. He says, "I know what love is. It's like when Kristoff brought you to Hans and left you forever." That's an act of true love. He did it completely selflessly. He wanted to stay with her, and instead he thought that the way to save her life was to bring her to another man, and he did. And that was out of love that he did that. So really, this ice heart thing is playing kind of loose with the rules.
Yeah, well, loose of the no rules.
Yeah. Oh, God. Okay. All right. We're almost there. Oh, God. I'm sorry about the long episode, guys. Ari was being fussy last time, so we couldn't record as much as we wanted to.
All right, we're going to finish this. I know I've said that 4 times now.
Yeah. So possibly the implication is that the act of true love has to be Anna's, right?
Oh,
that it can't be somebody else doing an act of true love. It has to be her own.
Yeah, that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, which makes sense. It's her ice heart.
It's her ice heart that needs cracking.
I love that Olaf and Sven had to be taken away from the climax because they're the comic relief characters. So Olaf literally blows away until the climax is done, and then he comes back. And Sven is stranded on an ice floe because they can't be part of this serious ending. Ice break sword. I just wrote ice break sword. And that's how that works. She turns into ice, his sword hits her, and it just shatters. We'll say it's magic ice. That last breath coming out of her when she freezes over, very metal. I like it. It is impactful.
Yeah.
Great.
It almost sells you in that it might actually be permanent.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And this is something that I've pointed out to people who've not noticed it. So for the record, when Elsa drapes herself over Anna in grief, they become one contiguous line. So her cloak becomes a continuation of Anna's. And so they are symbolically one, right? They're unified. I found a lesson.
A lesson?
I found a lesson. You might be hearing the "What have we learned?" segment noise right now, and I'll tell you, even though we don't have time for this, that I decided we kind of talk about the lessons of the stuff we watch like throughout our discussion, and so leaving it for the end never really works. And also, a lot of people already do the kind of "What have we learned?" segment in their things, and so I don't want to ape anybody else. And so from now on, when we find a lesson, even if we find multiple lessons, we're just going to play the little jingle and talk about it. And I found a lesson. It's okay to feel things, especially love. Love fixes everything. And there's the lesson. It's okay to feel. There we go. We got it.
There you go.
Finally got there.
They told her not to feel, and it turned out real bad.
Yep.
And then she learns to feel, and it's a little bit better.
She realizes that she can feel, and she realizes love is the answer. It's a pretty common lesson. Bringing back Inside Out real quick, that was a lesson of Inside Out as well, as it's okay to feel things. They're on a boat now. She realizes how to melt the ice, but I totally get why they did not. Like, they just weird cut, and they're all in the exact same position, but on a boat. And just imagine, like, people get so aggro about this, but imagine the scene of Elsa realizing love will fix everything, and then they're like, all right, let's get this unconscious dude onto this boat, and they're just dragging Hans's unconscious. It would have been a ridiculous thing.
It's like, all right, everybody to shore, and then I'll fix it.
It would have been an intermediary scene that would kind of take away from the impact of the lesson that she's learned, and also they would have been dragging an unconscious body. So obviously they just had to cut to, we're on a boat now.
And also runtime, you don't want that.
Remember how we talked about Elsa's powers and how they need to be defined? Apparently she can make permanent snow clouds, because she does that for Olaf, and it follows him around. That's pretty intense. And also, I literally had the thought, I've said literally a lot this episode, I give up on me. I literally thought while watching this, if they make a sequel, they are not going to like this, because to have to animate that cloud following him around.
Yeah.
And so, of course, in the sequel, they did this throwaway line about how he has permafrost. They immediately did away with it. And I knew it.
The cloud is not going to follow him around the whole movie. It put the kibosh on that. Yeah. Don't want it.
I predicted that and so many other things accurately about that movie. And so, yeah. Now that it's summer again, is Elsa's dress going to melt? It's made of ice. She's still wearing the ice dress. That's something to think about. I guess her body keeps it magically cold and delicious. I don't know.
I think she just likes it. I mean, she says it doesn't bother her, but maybe she just really likes the cold.
Yeah, who knows? The Duke tries to have her killed, and she stops trading with him. Hit him right where it hurts in the tradable goods, right? Like,
hit him in the tradable goods.
Yeah, like, I feel like that's not an appropriate response, honestly. It's kind of her to just be like, oh, you tried to have me killed. I'll stop trading with you. Go home. Like, okay, cool. Good for him. Sven is standing off screen. Okay, so we're almost at the end here, folks. Sven is standing off screen for us. This is the Finding Nemo diver problem. Just because they're off screen for the viewer of the movie does not mean they are, quote, off screen for the characters. So Sven was standing 3 feet away from this brand new sled that Anna is introducing to Kristoff, waiting to walk sexily towards it, Vanna White style. But Kristoff would have just taken off his blindfold and seen Sven standing there waiting to, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't off screen for Kristoff. Anyway, I like this scene, obviously. People get so up in arms about the 2 clipping scenes. Elsa's braid going through her arm, which it took me about 50 times to see, honestly, and then Kristoff's thumb clips into Anna for like 1 second. I've
been told exactly when Elsa's braid like clips through her body. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I've watched intently, and it's just like my eyes don't work that fast or something.
I obviously don't come across as a very forgiving person, and I'm not. I will admit that. But even I forgive the clipping scenes in this movie. It is hard to create a computer animated movie. You want to see how hard? I've recently discovered, thanks to my wonderful sister-in-law Gwen, a YouTube channel by a guy who calls himself Saber Spark, all one word. He does deep dives into the worst animated movies that have been put on offer, and it is hard to create good animation. So 2 clipping scenes in this one full-length movie, fine. Forgive them, okay? And everyone likes the ice powers now. So Elsa found her place. She really does belong until the sequel, when she realizes that she was right the first time and she does not belong. And more on that in Bex 2. the sequel whenever it happens. But yeah, she freezes the fountains on purpose and everybody applauds this time. So now, because the ice doesn't look scary, it looks nice, and they get to ice skate with their queen, I guess, and she has banished all the evil people back to their kingdoms. They're applauding now.
Well, I maintain that they were a little bit in awe the first time, and if she had just like sold it, they would have been like, cool.
Ta-da! Right, and then Demi Lovato, which, she's been through some stuff, and I bear her, the person, no ill will, but her voice is not one that I like.
This is a thing that they do a lot in Disney movies where, like, they did it with Aladdin. I think they did it with Mulan, where there's the song in the movie, and then in the end credits, there's a song that they just repeat the song with a different recording artist in a slightly different style.
Yeah.
And it's just, why? And that is the end of Frozen.
And, wow, what a wild ride. We no longer need to do the what have we learned segment just to wrap up. I like this movie still.
Yeah. Again, I said some of the songs I really like, the art style I really like.
Yeah. I think that they did successfully create an action princess who do want marry, because it turns out that you can be feminist and want to get married. I did 6 years ago. I've considered myself a feminist and I got married. So I think that they did feminism well enough that obviously the movie passed the Bechdel test, because there were conversations between Anna and Elsa that did not involve talking about a man. But gosh, they got close though. A lot of those conversations were about a man.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny. Hated the sequel, still like this movie. That is our over-analysis in 3 episodes from watching it way too many times. Thank you for just sitting through this with us, for helping us to maintain our marbles for one more week. We are going to come back at you next time with our compare and contrast of 2 shows by the same creators that we have vastly different feelings about. Peppa Pig and Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom. So that's going to be fun. Thank you to my husband for creating the theme music for our show, and we will see you next time, friends. Until then, I am Rebecca.
And I'm Alan.
Bye, friends.
Bye.